the host of the You Can Make a Difference show, which airs live every Friday at 12 noon PT time. On the You Can Make a Difference show, we shine a spotlight on people who are doing amazing things to make a positive difference in our communities and in our world. We talk about what inspired them to do the work and what inspires them to keep going, how they got their start, and how you can, if it inspires you, plug into their work. We can all do something that makes a difference. So tune in every Friday at noon to the You Can Make a Difference show with Mac McGregor.
You're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. I'm Granville Emerson along with my partner,
Ronald Pepe King.
And we host the show Little Line Sports right here on Rainier Avenue Radio.world, where we talk about football, basketball,
Local sports,
national sports, Seahawks,
UW,
Seattle U Redhawks,
Garfield Bulldogs,
all that and more right here on Little Line Sports on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Do you want to reach out to the Vietnamese community in Seattle? Just advertise in Người Việt Tây Bắc, that is Northwest Vietnamese News, the longest running Vietnamese language newspaper in our region. Go to nvnorthwest.com.
워싱턴에서 우리 대다수는 동의하죠. 우리의 도로가 안전하다는 것에요. 우리가 휴대폰을 멀리할 때요. 하지만 그것은 쉽지 않아요. 그러니 메시지를 퍼뜨리세요. 본보기가 되세요. 출발하기 전에 휴대폰은 글러브 박스에 넣고 방해 금지 모드로 설정하세요. 그리고 친구들과 가족들에게 똑같이 해달라고 부탁하세요. 왜냐하면 우리 모두가 자기 몫을 할 때 도로는 모두에게 더 안전하니까요. 함께하면 할 수 있어요. 워싱턴 교통안전위원회가 함께합니다.
Struggling to pay your mortgage? If you lost a family member to COVID-19, you may be eligible for homeowner assistance funds from the government. Call 1-877-894-4663 now or visit washingtonhalf.org. That's washingtonhaf.org. Because losing a loved one does not have to mean losing your home.
Washington, intina badan waxaynu wadaagnaa in wadooyinka noqdaan kuwa nabadgelya ah. Marka waa inaanu telefoonada meel iska dhignaa. Laakiin taa samaynteedu ma fududa. Haddaba fadlan sii faafi fariintan muhiimka ah. Tusaalena u noqo dadka kale. Kahor intaadan jidka ku dhicin, geli telefoonkaaga sanduuqa galoofyada. Adoo u sheegaya dadka ay qasin. Weydii saaxiibada iyo qoyskaaga inay saas oo kala sameeyaan. Sababtoo ah markuu qof walba kaalintiisa ka soo baxo, wadada waxay noqonaysaa mid ammaan ah. Si wada jir ayaynu taa ku gaari karnaa. Fariintan waxay ka timid guddida badbaadada wadooyinka Washington.
Welcome to Rainier Avenue Radio, our live coverage from Langston Hughes Performing Arts Center. I should say Performing Arts Institute. They changed the name a few years ago. This is Rick Dupree, and we are live in the theater. And things are getting started. The 50th anniversary celebration, big block party, and there's activities going on here in the theater. We'll go live to the podium at 2 o'clock in an hour, and we will have a number of dignitaries speaking. Performances and what have you. There's food and just a lot of things going on as Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute celebrates 50 years in the community, 50 years of programming, 50 years of Black excellence. And kind of taking a look at some of the information we have here. MCs will be Isiah Anderson Jr. and Steve Sneed, and we will talk to both of them here shortly. Vivian Phillips will give community reflections. Malcolm West from Black Arts West will be on board. Kabibi Monet, founder of New Black Arts West. Bobby Wooten, founder of the Paul Robeson Theater, Maxie Jamal, who is Langston Hughes alumni, and just a number of individuals that have been involved in programming and things happening here at Langston Hughes. In just a moment, we'll have Sandra Boas Dupree. She is the operations director here at Langston Hughes, and she'll give us a sense of what is going on today. But, you know, this place has special meaning for me. As a teenager, this was where I saw my first live performance. And when I say performance, a live stage play. And I'll never forget the name of the play was Living Black Ain't Easy. And I was sitting right behind where I'm at now. And certainly remember that. And then as a performer, the first play that I was ever in, directed by Isiah Anderson Jr. We'll talk about that. Was Sadie's Kitchen, written by LaChris Jordan, and was right here on this stage. And then my daughter Lauren, who went on to get her degree in musical theater at Howard University, performed in, I think it was 5 or 6 of the summer teen musicals. And this is just a place that has special meaning for so many of us in the community. With that said, I think I have Sandra. Come on in, Sandra, and put the headset on. And or actually, should I give Sandra the mic since she won't be able to hear me in the headset? Or okay, so go ahead and hopefully you can hear me okay. You won't be able to hear me through the headset, but can you hear me okay? Okay, go have a seat. And again, welcome to the show here at the Rainier Avenue Radio. And tell us a little bit about, as I've mentioned, you heard me talk about the 50th anniversary celebration, a community, pillar here in the community, and kind of share with our listeners, kind of what is going on today.
Well, today we're celebrating 50 years of Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, which is really a beloved place for the African American community and many others. So many people came up through Langston Hughes as performers, as people who just came to see performances, to do art, be together with each other. It's a really strong place, a safe place for the community, the African American community.
And you mentioned, such a source of pride for the African American community, but really programming for the entire community, not just Black folks, but certainly a place where we see Black excellence in the arts and what have you. Correct?
Yes, that's right.
I was gonna say, maybe tell us a little bit about what's happening today.
Yeah, today we intended to have a block party outdoors, but because of the smoke, we moved indoors, and that's fine because we have a big theater, we have a big hall, and we're going to have Isiah Anderson Jr., who directs the long-running teen summer musical, Steve Sneed, who is used to run Langston Hughes.
Yeah, and the founder of the summer teen musical.
Yes, he founded it. So they're here. They're gonna be the MCs, and we have performances. And I'd like to let people know that the performances are, Sherry. So let's say she's a longtime Langston Hughes performer and a staff member, and she's doing. She brought her marimba groups and Zaga and Zambuku marimba ensembles, and they're set up now. I'm looking at them, and they're so impressive, and she is so good. Josephine Howell will be singing.
The incomparable Josie Howell.
We all know Josie. The Northwest African American Museum's African American Cultural Ensemble is singing. The Teen Summer Musical, there's going to be some kids here singing.
So it sounds like we have performances. There's booths downstairs.
Yes.
What else? Is there food? What are all the things happening?
We have vendors with food, po' boys and tings. Oh my gosh, I forgot the name of the corn, crazy corn or something like that. People really love it.
But I need you to back up. You said some po' boys down there?
Po' boys and tings, so it's not just po' boys.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I'm gonna have to make my way
Very
downstairs.
Popular.
So again, 50 years celebrating, and maybe a little bit of history about this building, because I think people maybe don't know that this used to be a synagogue, and
Yes.
and can you give a little bit of that history for our listeners?
Yes, it was Bicker Colum Synagogue, and the synagogue was sold to the city, and in 1972, and that's when the center was actually called Yesler Atlantic Community Center for maybe a year, and then it was named after Langston Hughes, the poet and writer from the Harlem Renaissance, and it's been actually, I should mention for people who haven't been in Seattle long or maybe are too young to know that the central area was a Black neighborhood. And
So predominantly Black back
yes,
in the 60s and 70s and before, correct?
yes.
Mhm.
And so, it's gentrified now, but so Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute is still here. We're one of the organizations that has not left, and we're still here, and we still serve and promote the arts, excuse me, and Black arts in particular.
Great. Well, thank you. I know you have a lot on your schedule, a lot to do, but I appreciate you taking a few minutes just to kind of give the context for our listeners of the day. And now, you see kind of a split screen there. You can kind of see the stage and some things that will be taking place there. We're going to go live from the stage at 2:00. But Sandra, again, know you're busy. Thank you so much for taking some time.
But I'm going to stop you for a second because I want people to know that Black Stax is going to be here. Black Stax is Felicia Loud. She grew up here, and Jace, who also grew up here at Langston Hughes, and also Arami Walker, DJ Topspin, Marco Farroni, and Leah Brown, who was a vocalist, and she's great, and she was actually in the Teen Summer Musical years ago. So we've got I had to get that in.
Yeah. Thank you. So we have some alumni coming back. We have individuals that got their start here at Langston Hughes. So all of that, again, if you are not doing anything this afternoon, come on, make your way up to Langston Hughes on the corner of 17th and Yesler. And we are going to be celebrating from now until 5:00. And the official program really will get started at 2:00 here in the theater area. Right now, vendors would have you down in I always forget the Great Hall.
Grand Hall.
The Grand Hall.
We call it the Grand Hall.
The Grand Hall. Forgive me.
It's a big social hall, is what it is.
So the
dance hall.
So the Grand Hall hosting a number of the vendors. They're downstairs. DJ is going to be down there, or is down there, I should say. So that is all happening now until 2:00, and then the program will shift up here to the theater at 2:00, and we'll have the official program. So with that, thank you very much for giving us a little bit of a time and setting that context, and we will continue on.
Thanks,
so
Rick.
That was Sandra Boas Dupree. She is the operations manager here at Langston Hughes. And I tell you what, I told you we were going to get, so in just a couple of moments, we're going to try to grab Steve Sneed as well as Isiah Anderson Jr. and talk a little bit about this institution here, the things that they have done, what this institution has meant for the community, for them. There's Steve. Come on in, Steve. Grab some headphones, put them on. And again, like I said, for me, it's special place for me because as a Black man, just a lot of pride coming in here, not only being able to see the young folks, being able to see my daughter who grew up in and really matured in this in this building, but also, as I said, as a teenager. And Steve, you'll remember this as I welcome Steve Sneed to the show, joining us. So Steve, good to see you, man. Thank you for taking a few minutes to join us.
Yeah, thank you. Glad to be here to celebrate 50 years of Langston Hughes.
Man, can you believe 50 years? That is something.
Yeah,
that
beyond my age.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say, and this place has special meaning. And as a teenager, I saw my first live stage play here at Langston Hughes, and the name of it, Living Black Ain't Easy.
Yeah.
And see, there is one line I remember. I was sitting just behind where we are, and I remember right here in this area, kind of where we are on the stage, a guy came up, and the line, I don't know why I remember this line, but he said to somebody, he said, "Yeah, you better not be here when I get back. And you better not leave." and I don't know why that sticks with me, man. And I was probably not more than 13, 14 years ago, man. So that's almost 50 years ago.
Yeah. I remember that play also. I came to see it, and what I remember was the line that was outside.
Oh yeah.
It was a line practically around the block.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw the play and I loved it. I had good seats too. I was sitting right over there.
Kind of front row, huh? Yeah.
Almost up front. Right up front.
Yeah.
But that was what inspired me to really do theater. To produce shows and to use theater in the way that I went on to do.
Yeah.
Living Black. But I don't want to leave out Black Arts West. Black Arts West was my earliest inspiration. But as we're sitting here at Langston Hughes, we can't forget about living black ain't easy. But
Yeah.
it sure feels good.
Right. Yeah, yes, indeed. So, Steve, let's go back a little bit and maybe first give a little bit of context of what Langston Hughes means to the black community in particular, but also the overall community, because it's not just about black folks, but I mean, it is, as I said earlier, a place where really black pride and black excellence. But maybe talk a little bit about, just the importance of Langston Hughes in the community, and then want to go into a little bit more about your involvement here and what have you.
Well, starting with the community, I mean, my first interaction here, I performed here in 1974. And back then, African drum and dance groups were really popular.
Mm-hmm.
And they were popular for teenagers, right? The schools had them. Garfield had one. Rainier Beach had one. Cleveland had one. And they all sort of competed. Well, we had one. I say we. This was a group of us, teenagers. We came out of a church, Grace United Methodist Church, and we had an African drum and dance group.
Wow.
We performed all over the state. We performed, our claim to fame was we performed at every prison in the state of Washington.
Really? Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And that's what kept a lot of us from wanting to enter in any prison.
Okay. Yeah.
But I performed at the Black Community Festival in that group here in 1974, and it was live. It was one of the, we felt like we were in, the grand hall of the community, and we were, because it was packed. It was so full, people were sitting on the steps, and it was fairly new at the time, And so the pride that we had as young people at that time to perform here in front of our people, we was on cloud nine. We were so high on just that activity, that opportunity, that I could still see it now, right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'll never forget that feeling. One of those moments that said to me, this is valuable. This is important.
And you've had kids. I mean, you have performed here. You've had kids that have performed here. I've got a daughter that's performed here. And so, and I, like you, have performed here. But yeah, like you said, the pride that you have coming on here, and almost, you go back to FUBU for us, by us. But I mean, we're doing this for us, and a special meaning to be able to do it in front of our community.
Well, it's the opportunity to be seen in who we really are. I mean, that's the value of culture and arts, your own black culture and arts. It's to be seen and to be understood. I mean, like, we'll go to a black play at a white theater, and we'll sit there and we'll say, now, if we was in a black theater, the audience will respond.
Right. Yeah. We be talking back, we can, the audience be with us,
whereas here, when you come here, the culture, it's us, it's alive, it's, we relate what's on stage. And so it's just really about affirming who we are as a people.
Yeah.
And that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. If you just tuned in, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio's live coverage at the Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, celebrating 50 years in the community, and a big block party today. They've moved, because of the smoke, moved the block party inside, but all the festivities are still happening. We're in the main stage, the stage area, the theater area, I should say, on the stage. Or on the performance floor, and this is where we'll have performances, we'll have speakers, and what have you. Steve, talk a little bit about, now you came on board, and one of the things I mentioned earlier, you founded the Summer Teen Musical, but talk about your journey here, how you got here, and kind of how the Summer Teen Musical, which now is 26 years, 29 years, how many? 25 years. Thank you, Isiah. Isiah will be over with us in a minute. But talk a little bit about kind of your journey here and that history.
Well, I came in 1989, but prior to that, I was involved on what was called the Advisory Council, right? And the facility was governed by the Department of Parks and Recreation. It's still a building, at least, is still managed by the city of Seattle. But at that time, it was under Parks and Recreation. And it was really, it's a long story to how it got to be under Parks, but it was how it was able to be a theater and to be developed as it was. So,
because, and as you said earlier, a former synagogue, and then, and Sandra mentioned that the city purchased it, I think, in 72.
Yes.
Obviously 50 years ago. So okay.
There was an interim time there that's a little invisible, which is Model Cities. Had some time with it, and Hunley worked for Model Cities, so he eventually wound up being the superintendent of Parks and Recreation, and then this came along with it. So there's some things there to understand, I guess, documents and so on. But I end up coming I was on the advisory council, and I had a youth theater at the Madrona Presbyterian Church. And so this concept of a youth theater was still really new. And I actually got the concept from my involvement in what was called the Black Theater Project at the University of Washington. And we taught some young people in South Seattle, theater and arts. And so I brought that concept to Madrona, which then, worked out pretty well. And some of the plays were adults and youth working together. So the quality of the productions were higher than you'd get at a high school.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So
Okay.
it was, entertaining, but we just got talent in our community, right? Singers, people like Felicia Loud,
right
there. And so then somehow I got hired by the department. Oh, it was because I had a little experience in recreation. It's governed by the Department of Recreation.
Okay, right.
To get hired here, you had to have some recreation.
So you had a little bit there.
Yeah.
I
worked the front desk.
Yeah.
And but what they wanted was the youth theater concept.
Okay,
right?
and that's what you brought to the table.
Brought that in a play called Peer Pressure that year of 1989, and the Parks Department loved it, and so because I was actually hired as the assistant recreation coordinator, and then they promoted me to run the facility because of this production. Peer Pressure, this teen summer musical idea. Because they weren't really working with teens at that time, right? Parks Department, they did well. They said we do real good with little kids and we do real good with adults, but teens there's a void, and they were trying to bolster that. And so that's a long story short.
Yeah.
To say that, so once I was hired here and brought on, then I mean there are many other people that came along at the time. Vivian was a part of the board.
Vivian Phillips,
Darcel Hubbard came along, who we had performed in the African Drum and Dance group back as teenagers. She came on as a stage manager, and Rico Bimbri was writing music, and so we came in with that teen summer musical. It evolved to being this thing where we go downtown to Paramount as another iteration of developing really the center and its tentacles, right?
Yeah.
So we took it downtown. I had an opportunity to work with the National Endowment for the Arts for a planning grant. And that grant allowed me to go across the country and see different arts organizations similar to ours. And that's where I got the boldness and the idea really to go downtown and do this big thing. The whole idea was that it would draw people back to the center. Right.
Yeah. Well, and then that was a great, getting people let me say first, getting these young kids in these professional venues, such an incredible thing. We're talking to Steve Sneed and giving a little bit of the history of the programming here at Langston Hughes, celebrating 50 years today. And this year being their 50th year. And so go ahead. So anyway, you get that idea and the Paramount, I know from my daughter's involvement, we had shows at the Paramount, at the Rep, at Moore. So it's been all around. And for kids to be able to get that experience, it's just, something special.
And the idea was that we give the young folks in this community exposure to the arts in a professional environment, to really be able to see the possibility, to see that if you choose to do this, you can do this. Because we don't have a lot of that in Seattle. And what I saw in the high schools is that the plays that they chose, usually kids of color are not even considered for the leading parts. You're not going to play Cinderella,
right?
If you're a Black girl, you're not going to play any of these main parts, Snow White,
right?
You're not going to, and the thing, the travesty is that you're not even going to be considered. See, it's different if I'm at least considered for these parts.
Right.
Because then I know I'm included in the room. But if you're not even going to be considered because of the color of your skin, then what do? You don't participate. And that's what you have in the high schools. Kids of color don't participate. Whereas the summer musical, you got 200 kids out here auditioning to be for 50 and 60 parts.
Right. Yeah.
So that was really at the crux of it, was just giving opportunity. It's always about giving opportunity.
Yeah.
But
just and it's so incredible. And like you said, just that experience and the pride that it brings to the community. I think of like Little League sports, whether it's football, basketball, the community's there, they're cheering on, but that's what happens in the theater here with this program that you created, Steve. So, I mean, as you look back, it's like, man, how do you feel? I mean, this is my baby. Huh?
No, it feels good because it is the realization, and and I have to just iterate. An idea is one thing, and to get it started and all that. But we got a director like Isiah. How many directors are gonna work with 80 kids?
and commands their attention. And I mean, but he just we're gonna bring Isiah over to me. He's testing the mics here. When you're done testing the mic, come on over, Isiah. Okay, we're gonna get him over here. But yeah, I mean, and that's to have somebody like that, like you said, it's just
it's amazing to see because. In the original idea, it was pretty bold to do what we did, to take, 50 or 60 kids down to the Moore and the Paramount, and they were really behind it. The Paramount, they were really supportive. Now there was a arrangement that said that once the city had helped to develop the property, see, it's all these little things, right? The new Paramount, remember the Paramount?
Yeah.
Well, the city had helped to renovate it. They gave them some support, and one of the requirements was that they give something back
to the community, right?
Back to the community, right?
Yeah.
Well, I knew that because Vivian,
right? That's it.
So I said, okay, this is how we can do that. Give us the space, right?
Yeah.
So that sort of thing is what happens to make these things work.
Absolutely.
And, So. But it's good to see it.
Yeah, no doubt.
As long as it has.
If you just tuned in, you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio's live coverage here at the Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, celebrating 50 years in the community of Black excellence. And this is Steve Sneed, and we're going to bring Isiah Anderson Jr. in. Can Isiah use this mic here? I guess we're going to. Is it on? And Isiah, come on over, have a seat here, and we'll kind of widen this camera out so we can see. I'm gonna have to get the cameraman to do that because we're not seeing Isiah. Well, you'll need to see my face, Hey, okay, there we go. Okay, yeah. See, Daniel, man, our producer, he knows what he's doing. So Isiah, welcome to the show, man. Steve, wait, come on. We can't do that on the air. But with that said, Steve was talking about just the uniqueness of the Summer Teen Musical and having somebody at your level to come in to work with 50, 60, 70, 80 youth. 102. So talk a little bit about that experience, number one, and then just what it's like to be here to celebrate 50 years.
Well, let me say this, to say my level came by way of experience here at Langston Hughes. Though I feel I was gifted when I got to Seattle, I didn't have an opportunity or a space to explore that. To take those gifts to another level. And walking into the doors of Langston Hughes, and I don't care what room you went into, you found, artists of all kinds expressing themselves and experimenting in one way or another. And so I got on-the-job training. Before I started doing the Teen Summer Musical, I had an opportunity to do DCM, a program created by Steve and Rico that allowed young people from middle schools to come in and some high schools. They were taking at-risk youth. More Black kids than anything. And they would come here and give up their electives. And we talk about the issues that they were dealing with that's having trouble in school, getting there on time, and those things. And we put that in play form, and they started to perform those things. And we realized that self-discipline, self-confidence, and self-motivation is what a lot of our young kids were missing. And an opportunity to display that, a platform. And so we gave them that, and it was from that. I'm working with Liza Contras at the time.
I forgot about that.
That just allowed me to go, ooh, this works, and that works, and that don't work too well, but this does. So by the time we got to the Teen Summer Musical, I was ready to continue growing.
Wow.
We started with 35 kids. Then it was 60-something kids. Then, 1 year we had 85. It was consistent, like between 65 and 85 for a few years. And 1 year we had 102 kids. And we had to do a double cast. And I was wrong because I double cast without telling my production team. Costume designer found out. But just to continue that legacy, man, I am just I feel like a kid today. Literally, I feel like a kid today. I'm honored to be in the presence of, a lot of people have mentors.
Right.
You know what I mean? That they say, it's this guy I knew back in the day. His name was I don't know where he at right now. I have the privilege of saying that my mentor is still here, still in the community, still active, still relevant, and so I'm just honored to be here today to celebrate this 50 years of this building, this corner, creating and continuing to give, voice.
Yeah. Well, certainly in the I mean, the name Langston Hughes, you think about the Renaissance and what have you. And so important that, you have, it's represented here. And as you talked about, I mean, so many different rooms, things are going on, whether it's visual arts, whether it's performing arts, whether it's spoken word, you name it. And all of it has happened in here and continues to happen in here. And Steve, I ask you, I mean, your vision coming in, what was that vision? Because you had that youth group coming in, but what was that overall vision?
Well, the vision coming in, that's why I go back to 1974, and I performed it here, and it was so full that people were sitting on the steps. So that was my vision. My vision is that this place was alive with our people enjoying performances and all the rooms, it just made for the opportunity to grow in your art form, and that was free and open.
Yeah.
We used to do things like for every play, we said the neighborhood kids, they get to come in free. Staff knew at the door, right? The kids in the neighborhood get to come in free. They shouldn't be afraid to come in here. Hip hop events all the time. I mean, the hip hop artists from the 90s, most of them came through here because there were always performances. The DCM that Isiah was talking about, that was a concept that I developed in college from the Black Theater Project. DCM stands for Discipline, Confidence, Motivation. But the kids that they were working with came from Donald Felder's interagency school.
That's right.
They brought the kids here for part of their schoolwork to do theater and then to develop the plays. And then Isiah and Liza took them out to schools across the county. So the vision was just to make a space open where we could be seen, we could be heard, we could be who we are. And the culture is obvious and rich and strong. It was how I grew up. Right. I performed also as a teenager at the Paramount.
Yeah.
That's where I met my wife. Right?
Oh, wow.
So
In
the 70s, we had those opportunities.
Yeah. That's incredible.
Parks actually was supporting that group, that dance group that went around, and they went to Portland Paramount. They came here to Paramount. Yasutake, he worked with that program. Him and Willie Campbell.
He mentioned that last night. We did a game last night, and I told him we were doing the broadcast today, and he mentioned that.
Martin was just saying we don't remember history well. We forget. We don't capture all that. People don't, it's hard, but that's why it's wonderful you're doing this.
Well, and that's a big piece. I mean, of you talk about history, and in a minute, I know you guys have stories, and I want to hear some stories, and I also want to hear some of the stories behind some of the plays, and my daughter being involved in them. And I said this to you, Isiah, and I want you to talk a little bit about what just happened here a couple of weeks ago with some youth that we expect to see some of them perform today. But I told this to you, and I said, Isiah, my daughter, she was who she was as a Black young woman was affirmed being in this program. And I almost, I get teary-eyed a little bit because she we wanted her to be in her community and to be exposed to us and to feel comfortable. And this is a place where she shined. And I'll never forget the last place she did. Was it the Summer Rhapsody? Yeah. And you didn't put her in the lead role. And we were like, wait a minute, what? Because I mean, now I know I'm a proud dad, but Lauren can do her thing. She may, okay, but it was interesting that you had a strategy and understood and explained that to her. And again, she looks up to you. Talk about mentors. She looks up to you and what you have meant for her. And that, Steve, I know as you created a program like this, and that's just one story of hundreds of youth that you guys have touched and the impact that you have on them. I know as a dad, I've seen it personally, but that it extends far beyond one.
We're all dads of children.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Awesome. I want to say one thing though, Rick, that people don't realize the task Steve took on. Langston Hughes was ran by the Parks Department.
Yeah.
And it was staffed like a community center. Yeah. It was given the expectations of a community center. Provide some programs, do some rentals, bring in some revenue. And Steve kept saying, listen, we're doing theater. We can't do a rental downstairs if there's a play upstairs.
Right.
We can't do a wedding if there's a set on stage. So it was cutting into, and so he fought hard to create a space for theater under the aspects of a community center. And it took him a while, but he finally convinced them, hey, you can't continue to run it like a community center. You can't even continue to staff it like a community center. Right? And
that's huge. Yeah.
That was huge. Yeah. Right. And you're talking about a man who didn't like ruffling feathers either.
Yeah.
You're talking about, you know what I'm saying? Steve would be like this. All right. It's going to happen, but all right. You know, and it happened, you know, and we are all benefiting from that, that hard work, that pushback, you know, because literally there was no managing director. There was no artistic director. There was no set designers. Everybody was a rec attendant, rec leader, coordinator, assistant coordinator. In a theater. Right. And so when that happened, you know, it was huge. I literally, when I say I had on the job training, I was sitting watching, go, okay, those are some of the things I'm definitely going to attach myself to. And those are some things I'm going to stay away from because that's not what I want to do. You know, I want to do theater. I want to make sure there's a platform for us to do theater. And so, just having our kids come through the program, you know, it took years. I think people still in the Parks Department don't know what we do.
Well, I mean, Isiah brings up a good point. And you're listening to Rainier Avenue Radio's live coverage. We are live at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, celebrating 50 years in the community, 50 years of programming. And you make a really good point. And now, so the evolution to a certain degree no longer is Langston, the programming, under the umbrella of the Parks Department. Now, the Parks Department manages the building, what have you, but several years ago has moved into the Office of Arts and Culture for the city. So still part of the city of Seattle. And then Langston nonprofit was created and does programming. You've got Langston in here. You've got CD Forum in here. But again, Steve, for what Isiah's talking about, you fought for this vision of, no, this is a performing arts center. It is not a community center. And the difference in that. Yeah. Recreation, it is in the community. But yeah, absolutely. And that distinction, is just so important.
In many different ways. I mean, it was simple things like when we closed, right? It was required that all community centers close at 10 o'clock. And from about 9 to 10, you know, we'd be sitting around here twiddling our thumbs like nobody's here. All the classes had happened. And I said, well, you know what? Let's start closing at 9. We don't need to be here. What are we doing? What are we sitting here at 10 o'clock for? It's the schedules of people were all arranged based on a basketball season and recreation stuff. You know, in fact, I'd go to meetings and they would laugh at me. Oh, Steve, all the other recreation coordinators. Right. Where's your basketball team? Pretty soon that stopped because all the press from the plays and the things we were doing in the arts, they started to say, oh, yeah, okay, yeah, you don't have a gym, so of course you don't have a theater company. Or you don't have a basketball team. So,
and I don't ever remember the mayor giving a basketball team a proclamation.
Right.
Sing some musical.
Well, you know, and I want to get both of your take on this, and then, like I said, I want to get into a couple of stories. I want to hear, and Isiah, I want you to share again what was going on here a couple of weeks ago. But you look at whether it's, you know, quote unquote at-risk kids, black kids, whatever. But the discipline that it takes to be in a theater company or a production, and you raise the bar for these kids, and they raise their level of performance. And so I mean, can you talk a little bit about just that process here and what that has been like and what it has looked like? Because I think that people don't really understand that, but you know, well, these are kids, and again, talk about 102 kids, but Isiah, you got them disciplined. These kids are running around the block. They are, you know, you got leaders that are coming up, stepping up, and keeping other kids in check. And I mean, it's an environment, man, that is just a beautiful environment where they come together and they realize, hey, we're a team. it may not be an athletic team, but we are a team.
We get choked up every time we watch it.
Yeah.
Because I know what goes into it.
Yeah.
What Isiah does is his way of pushing them to do their best.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. And I think a lot of people there's a misconception about, a summer program, that you go and you're there and they got some activities for you. You get to hang out and you got some free time you get to do and they feed you and then you get to go home. Our kids are Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, committed. And I mean, we're the only teen program that has ever guaranteed an outcome. Right? Other kids go through a program and they say, yeah, we did all these activities, but when it's done, it's done.
Right.
We were the only one that the community expected a product from at the end of the summer. So whereas all the other kids were relaxed and were able to come to the show, our kids was the show.
Yeah.
And it was because of the discipline that they had. They learned how to, and I'm moving forward. I've expressed it to many people, I even talked to the mayor, that I'm hoping that our kids can now be under the aspects of youth employment, summer youth employment, because they're 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, and they're learning what it means to be on time. They're learning what it means to deal with the public. They're learning what it means to be a team. They learn all those aspects of what work is when we go to work.
You're talking life skills, man.
Life skills,
stuff that you're not getting in the classroom.
Yes.
Come on.
So they get that. And this past summer, we were able to do a story about legacy. And the Teen Summer Musical is just that. It's a legacy that we want to go on forever. And so I wrote a story and called The Greatest Story Ever Wove. And I took 21 kids, 19 of whom had never heard anything about the Teen Summer Musical other than, I knew this and I saw that, right? But never been a part of it. And I gave them the history of, the story was about Langston Hughes. The story was about the community and how it changed for a while, right? Because the community changed. We said, maybe we should start changing how we do things. And I think that was a mistake. You know what I mean? Because my opinion is that
though we are not the majority in the community anymore, it doesn't mean that we can't use this to educate those who are moving into it.
Exactly.
About what it is we do and how we do it.
Oh, for sure.
And so we had this talk back. It was the first time we'd ever done it with the Teen Summer.
Because in the
we're
big
at major theaters.
Right.
We got 60 plus kids. It'd be hard to do a talk back. But this year was the first time I heard the community come up to me and go, wow, those kids learn a lot. I guess it was easy to do with 21 kids. I said, believe it or not, 85 kids get those same lessons. Never heard about it. Because we couldn't do a talk back. And so we were just so, and it's been consistent, which is what works. The consistency.
Got to be consistent.
Consistency of the expectation and the bar that you set here, that they meet that.
Running around the block, right? That discipline.
We started Hit the Block, literally, because of the Paramount Theater.
Really?
We got to the Paramount Theater the first time. It was in 98. We're at the Paramount Theater, and dressing rooms are from the 4th floor up to the 7th floor. The kids were told by Paramount staff that they couldn't use the elevators. So we learned that year that kids running up and down stairs, they needed to have some energy.
And I'm cutting you off for a second. What other theater company come in? You can't use the elevators. That's a whole nother story. Okay, the whole other conversation. But why we are here and why what's being done here is so important. But go ahead, Isiah. Sorry to cut you off.
Hit the block.
Hit
the block. Let's go.
Let's get in shape.
Running around the block. You know, like this. They thought it was discipline. They thought it was discipline.
Getting you ready.
Don't get me wrong. It was a form.
Right.
And the very next year we had the Paramount. I think we were doing Peter Pan.
Was that the first Peter Pan?
Very first.
That was my last year too. Peter Pan was a tough one.
Paramount Theater, and when they said, we got to change, changing. Kids were up and down those stairs. Didn't realize that it didn't affect them.
They were ready.
They didn't realize it. So it was just amazing, man. Just amazing. And so I believe the consistency of what was created and the ability to, and again, taking traditional musicals,
Yeah.
productions, and using the term that Rico Bembry coined, chocolatizing, right, was easy for me. It came so easy to adapt. I was like, hey, Steve, what if I do this? Cinderella, a love story with the sound of Motown. Peter Pan, parents just don't understand. Uncle Willie's Chocolate Factory. You know, Snow White and the Seven. Each one teach one. You know,
right.
Concepts.
Chocolatize. Yeah. Chocolatize them. I like that. Yeah.
It's what the Wiz does, right? Yeah.
It's so important when you talk about these types of stories, because I think about kind of our legacy and history and what have you. And it's interesting. I as you guys know, I work at Seattle Academy and was talking to one of the brothers there. He's Nigerian. And I was talking to him and a Jamaican brother. I said, man, I really, admire you guys. You have this culture, and what have you. And the Jamaican brother, the Nigerian brother said to me, but Rick, he said, everybody in the world tries to emulate Black Americans. What you all doing? And so Isiah, as you talked about, starting to get away from who we were for a little while, but back, unapologetically, we're Black and proud of who we are, and as you guys know, I'm working on a documentary about the Seattle Black Panthers and their story, these young people that said, you know what? No, we ain't turning the other cheek anymore. Okay. We're proud. And you went from a time in the late 60s from Negro to Black. And it's interesting because Aaron Dixon, who became the captain at 19, he said, Stokely Carmichael was going around talking about this new concept, Black Power. We had never heard of it. I mean, think about that, you guys. You didn't hear about it, and that whole, James Brown would say it loud, I'm Black and I'm proud, and so what you guys have done is just that very thing, is giving these young African American boys and girls this pride in who they are. And like I said, I mean, we all have had kids in it, and I speak from my daughter's perspective. She came into her own as a young Black woman, and now at 33, a Black woman who is continuing to perform as a result of what she has experienced here. So you guys, I mean, I applaud you guys. Hats off, and I know you got to be proud. Again, I said to Steve earlier, but like you're looking at your baby, And if you just tuned in, you listen to Rainier Avenue Radio's live coverage. We are at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, and I'll be talking with guests here for another 15 minutes or so. And right around 2:00, the official program will get started here in the theater. So you kind of see lights going up and down and some mic checks and what have you, because we're in the theater area where the main programming will occur. But, Isiah, you talked about chocolatizing the stories. And I loved, with the Motown soundtrack and what have you. And that was a show that Lauren was involved in. But talk about, from your perspective, which is how the kids receive that when it's kind of this self-pride and it's, a story that they can relate to.
Let me say this. The first time we did Cinderella Love Story with the Sound of Motown, every time we played a Motown song and I asked the kids who that individual was, they gave me some new artist.
And you said
the
remix version.
And they were like, so and so.
Right.
That's Aretha Franklin. Well, she stole that from me.
Whoa. They sampled from Aretha, baby. Come on.
It was at that time that myself and Darcel and the other staff said, hey, they gotta be educated on Motown.
Yeah.
Before we can do anything Motown. So they had homework. Go home, talk to your parents, your grandparents.
Yeah.
We need you to bring back something from the Motown era.
Mm-hmm.
Kids were bringing back the little disc for the records.
Oh yeah,
right. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
One girl, her grandfather was the first Black Metro bus driver in Seattle.
Wow.
She brought his change thing.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
Right. And so we had to educate them first, and so it was like educating them. And saying, hey, watch this, and you do a dance move. And you hit that move, and they be like this. But what about if you do it like this? No, you added too much.
Right.
You added too much. You need to make it simplify that.
Right.
Oh man, it was just an awesome experience. So just watching those light bulbs come on, and introduce them to something new. Is what really excites the staff. Then we go, okay, we got to educate.
Right.
Every time we do something, let's educate them on what it is we're doing.
Yeah, it's interesting you talk about that, because with my kids and my daughter in particular, who went into theater, as I mentioned, I used to a song would come on the radio, and I would ask my kids, okay, if you can tell me who this is by, I'm gonna give you $5 or $10 or whatever. Well, there was one time, one song came out. I can't remember what it was, but I knew Lauren didn't know. So I said, I'll give you $100. And she got it. And I'm like, oh, man. And so she reminded me a couple of years ago, as a 30-year-old, you never paid me my $100. So I had to come up on. But no, I mean, to your point though, is that, I mean, for our kids to learn this history. And again, there's so much pride. We just had a family reunion, and Steve, I talked to Steve about a year ago, and my grandfather, his name, one of the stained glass windows at First AME, his name is on there, J.W. Morris. And we're trying to figure out, the history behind that, and found out that he was one of the individuals that helped build the building. I think it was, I want to say 1912 or 1916. I can't remember which. I looked up, but he was one of the original people. That is something we shared in our family reunion. And it's like, man, we got to have some pride in who we are. I have a brother who was the first Black journalist hired by the Wall Street Journal, my brother David Dupree. And so there's the things like that we we need to, and you talk about whether it's each one teach one, or again, you talk about the stories that this summer you went back and kind of went over that, hey, this is who we are. And for that play, for that museum owner, if it was museum, right? And she had to be reminded, wait a minute, no, this is our history, So that's a beautiful thing. That's a beautiful thing. This is Steve Sneed. That is Isiah Anderson Jr. And these guys, a lot of history in this building. And Isiah, we were talking off air, but I remember that the first play I was ever in, you directed Sadie's Kitchen right here on this stage. I saw that too. And the funny thing about that is that I had approached Isiah that summer. It was after, I can't remember which summer musical. And I said, man, I was motivated by the kids, Steve. And I said, Isiah, do you guys ever do like adult classes? I'd like to get into it. And he said, not really, but I'll keep you in mind. And then he calls me and he says, Rick, we're doing this production and want to have you come in as an understudy to Umeme. And that day I had been playing basketball, ruptured my Achilles. And I said, Isiah, I can't do it, man. I'm getting ready to have surgery and what have you. And so a month passes, I have the surgery, and Umeme was doing another show and was real busy. So Isiah calls me and says, Rick, it's still here, but it's not the understudy. I need you in this part if you're willing. And for the first month, we up in the office area rehearsing, and I've got crutches and walking around. But and we opened up the Thanksgiving weekend right after Thanksgiving, and I just got the cast off, and I had a limp. So Mr. Cooper, had a little limp. I was cool. And, the funny thing about that, I was working for the Sonics at the time, and you remember Mateen Cleaves. Went Michigan State national champion. Mateen was on the Sonics, and during practice, I would be running my lines. And Mateen came up to me because we had a good relation. Mateen actually was renting the house that my brother had, and he came up to me. Man, Rick, what's wrong, man? What's wrong with you? What you talking to yourself over there? And I said, no, dude, man, I'm running lines. I'm gonna be in this play. And he said, man, we was sitting over there looking at man. Look at Rick. Rick's going crazy. So Mateen actually came to the play, came here and saw me. And from that point forward, so I called me Mr. Cooper. But
wow, being around you is different as a director.
You got to switch, right?
Oh my goodness, yeah. But one thing I really remember is it was set in New Orleans, so we had the New Orleans accent, and there was one line I could not get without laughing. I don't know if you remember that. I was supposed to say brother, and I don't know why, Steve. I could not say it without laughing. So I think Isiah let me change. We changed it up, but man, that was so much fun. But it's stuff like that the experiences that happen in this building that I think what makes it special. And special to us. And so I just want to say, thank you to both of you all, because you continuing this legacy and just, something that is so important to this community and something we can take pride in. And again, unapologetically, and not changing. So I appreciate that. Steve Sneed, Isiah Anderson Jr. I know you guys got to get ready. You're going to be up there emceeing. You are running the show today. So
all right.
Thank you both so much. So many memories and much love, and keep doing what you're doing.
Right.
What they call it? Okay, that's a whole nother story, y'all. But Felicia Loud, who is performing today with Black Stax, she and Isiah are the ones that I think you guys gave me that nickname, huh? And Felicia, I'm walking down the street, I hear that. Pretty Ricky. No, I'm like, oh, Lord. Anyway, you are listening to our live coverage here at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. And the program really should be getting going in about 10 minutes or so. So we are live here until it gets going. People are coming in, going to be sitting down. And at the time the program gets started, we will go live to the podium, and we will take that live. So you won't have to hear me yakking here, but you'll hear some great stories and performances here at Langston Hughes. Also, I want to mention, my glasses. So the Seattle Black Film Festival coming up in 2023, April 22nd through April 30th. And you can see it. It's here. This will be the 20th anniversary for the Black Film Festival, Seattle Black Film Festival here at Langston, and a big celebration. I'm really excited to say that the film that I'm working on with my son and with Aaron and Elmer Dixon, the Seattle Black Panthers Fight for Justice and Freedom, is slated to be the opening night feature film. And we are just excited about that. And it is a story that really, the way we're putting it together, it's the Panthers, the comrades themselves telling their story. We don't have narration other than them telling the story and the impact that they had on the community. And really, we hope that through this film, individuals will really see who the Black Panthers were and what they were about, and not this radical terrorist group trying to kill white people, but individuals that said, you know what, we're not going to stand for being oppressed anymore. And we're going to be proud about who we are. We're going to stand up, and we're going to make you respect us. And we're going to show you that we don't need you. We can do what we need to do. And what's so amazing about the story is that you're talking about young people in their late teens, early 20s, and they devoted themselves and their lives to something bigger than themselves, knowing that they may get killed. And we were doing some filming with Aaron a couple of weeks ago, and Aaron gave one of the greatest definitions I thought I've ever heard of a revolutionary, but just said, this became my life. This is who I was. This was what I devoted my life to. And when he started talking about the end of the Black Panthers, tears were coming down his eyes, because for many of us, we were like, what do we do now? But they continued to work. And you see even today in programs that are going on in the community, the free lunch program was started by the Black Panthers. You look at free medical health, and you look at sickle cell testing and all of those things. So anyway, I say all that to say, Seattle Black Film Festival, more information about our film will be out there, but there'll be a number of films that's happening April 22nd through April 30th, 2023, right here at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. So that's the kind of thing that happens here, the type of programming that goes on. And any final words? I know you guys got to get ready, so I don't want to keep it, but any final words you want to share before you?
Well, I'll say this. If you've never been a part of Langston and experienced an event, a show of any kind here, don't miss the next 50.
Amen.
Yep.
I
would agree.
That's right. That is Isiah Anderson Jr. This is Steve Sneed. Gentlemen, thank you so much. I appreciate you taking time, and we'll be seeing you up there on the stage, I guess, in a few minutes. And but thank you so much for what you have done.
All right, thanks, Rick.
So again, Rick Dupree here. We are live at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, and in about 5 or so minutes, the theater here is starting to fill up, and we will turn our attention away from my face and on to the big screen there, and or I should say the stage. But as we are preparing, and I was hoping to grab a few other people, but that was such a rich conversation with Steve and Isiah, and they so much of the history here in this building they are responsible for, and it was just great to hear what they had to say. But some of the performances, coming up, Sandra Boas Dupree, who was here earlier, talked about the marimba ensembles. And Zanga and Zambuco, marimba ensembles. They will be performing. The African American Cultural Ensemble from the Northwest African American Museum, they will be here. Josephine Howe, members of the teen summer musical. Isiah talked about 21 youth. They may not have all 21 here, but some of them are slated to perform. Black Stax, you heard the name of Felicia Loud, who grew up in this theater performing, and a part of Black Stax with Jace E. Cage. They will be performing. Arami Walker will be performing, DJ Topspin, and a lot more going on here. Among some of the speakers, Vivian Phillips, we talked about Vivian. Vivian has a great project coming on board, Art Noir, and having a big grand opening coming up here really, really soon. That'll be in the new Midtown area, Midtown Commons, across the street from a Communion restaurant, right there on in between 23rd and 24th and Union. Malcolm West from Black Arts West, Kabibi Monet, founder of New Black Arts West, is here. Bobby Wooten, founder of the Paul Robeson Theater. These are all historical theaters, Black theater companies that performed here at Langston Hughes, also Washington Hall. And so much of the history here. Representing Mayor Bruce Harrell will be from his staff. Jennifer Samuel, she is the chief of staff, and she will be on program as well. Roy Alley Barnes, who is an acting executive director of the Office of Arts. And again, we talked about the fact that Langston Hughes now no longer under the umbrella of Seattle Parks and Rec, but here, rather I should say, under the umbrella of the Office of Arts. So part of that shift and that change that Isiah and Steve were talking about, where this was seen as a theater and a theater company and a performing arts, not a rec center for athletics. And so the big change for Langston Hughes. So a number of activities going on. We've got booths and tables down, vendors downstairs in the Great Hall, and that is going on down there. But again, everyone moving up here. So we're just a couple of minutes away from the main program starting up. Isiah and Steve will be some of the lead MCs, if you will, or hosts, kind of leading this show as we get started at 2:00 here. Again, if you just tuned in, we are listening to our live coverage at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. Don't go anywhere, because we're going to be here for another hour. And then also a little bit later this afternoon, 5:00, we will be live at Memorial Stadium. I believe it is Ballard and Eastside Catholic will be battling. And if you were tuned in last night, you heard our coverage of Garfield, who week one, a stunner. They beat the top-ranked 4A team. Now, Garfield, a 3A team, but they beat the top-ranked 4A team, Lake Stevens, by a score of 26-16. And last night just unloaded on Roosevelt and won it 56-3. So Garfield 2-0. And again, our coverage again tonight, opening weekend of our coverage of high school football, primarily Metro League football. So again, Eastside Catholic and Ballard at Memorial Stadium. That at 5:00. You can hear it live right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. And of course, go on our streaming services, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, or Facebook, and you can check it out, on those services as well, and hear the call there at Memorial Stadium. That is tonight at 5:00. Well, right now the crowd is entering into the theater, and they are getting ready for the festivities here. And just again, as I mentioned earlier, an honor for us to be here. And this is one of the things that really distinguishes Rainier Avenue Radio and who we are, and that is that we're bringing you programming from the community. This is community programming, and we are in the community of the community, and something you're not going to get anywhere else. And that's what makes us so special, is that you're going to hear directly from the community folks and the community perspective. And that is something that Tony B was his vision as he started Rainier Avenue Radio. And whether it is children's shows, whether it is performance, whether it's high school football or basketball or baseball or foreign language shows, kids shows, you name it. You're hearing it from the community perspective right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. Again, we're live at the Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. If you're not doing anything, you need to get up here. Festivities will be going on until 5:00. So make sure to make your way up here on 17th and Yesler, and come on in and just enjoy what is going on. Looking at the schedule here again, when we get started, both Steve Sneed, who we were talking with, and Isiah Anderson Jr. will serve as the MCs. And Isiah, again, former Langston Hughes staff member here, but he is the director of the Summer Teen Musical. And he will be on board as MC, along with Steve, former director here at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. DJ Yaddy, we got Michael Davis, we got obviously Rainier Avenue Radio. We're broadcasting live. You got Seattle Times and the Seattle Channel. Michael B. Main, who is a videographer, photographer, is here along with Marcus Donner. So a number of individuals behind the scenes making this happen. And then we will get started. Sharon Nyree Williams, who is executive director of CD Forum of Arts and Ideas, CD Forum for Arts and Ideas, I should say, will open things up, and she will introduce Isiah and Steve, and we will get things going. So that's just a few minutes away. And again, I want to encourage you to make sure to stay with us all afternoon. We'll be here another hour at Langston Hughes, then heading down to Memorial Stadium for live programming there. Again, that will be Isiah Catholic. You see it on the screen there, Isiah Catholic and Ballard. And that game will be live here. So again, part of our opening weekend coverage of high school football. And then stay with us every week. And we'll have games both on Fridays and Saturdays. And so you can make sure to tune in. You can go to our website, Rainier Avenue Radio.world, and you can find the schedule. And then also on our social media platforms, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or Twitch, all of those social media platforms, you can get information on our schedule and what games we will be covering all season long. Woo, Daniel, I tell you what, we are ready to go here, and they are getting things going here. And trying to think, what else do we have going on this weekend? Anything else? Or we are busy and out in the community. That's for sure.
We are quite busy there, Rick, and actually tomorrow yet another event coming up, and we'll be from the trying to put that on the screen. There we go. The Soul Healing Festival there in the International District at 1:30 p.m. A special, I guess, 9/11 healing Eastern medicine type of deal. So, hey, got to spread the love all the way around, and we'll be in the International District on 1:30 tomorrow on September the 11th. Soul Healing Festival. I forget what the name of the park is, but there's a park in the International District that we'll be at, and the name escapes me. But I was listening to you, Rick, and you speaking about Garfield defeating Lake Stevens in week 1. Interesting context, the defending champs Bellevue Wolverines, they lost to Lake Stevens last night. So that just spells how good this Garfield team is going to be this year.
Garfield, I mean, if they can, last night they were with, a weaker opponent in Roosevelt. And so they made a lot of mistakes, and something that John Yastaki and I talked about. They're going to have to clean that up as they come up against more challenging opponents, tougher opponents. But they really have a lot of talent there. We're going to turn our attention over to the main podium here. Sharon Nyree Williams, Executive Director of the CD Arts and Forum, is taking place and is getting ready to start. So I'm going to shut up, and we're going to turn it over to her.
Say hello, everyone. What's good? I am so happy to have all of you in the building. Welcome to Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. My name is Sharon Nyree Williams. I am the Executive Director for the Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas. And my job today is to tell you, one, a little bit of housekeeping. Welcome to the 50th anniversary. Did I say 50? Can you say 50? Can you say 50? Can you say 50 more? 50 more? Thank you, because I'm from North Carolina. You got to say mo. You don't got to pronounce the whole word. We know exactly what you talk about. A little bit of housekeeping. In the case of an emergency, we go right back out those 2 doors, and we go directly out, or we go over here to the right. Whatever is this my right? Yeah. We go over here to the right. Right out this door into the street. Don't go too fast. Don't run into the street, because I can't help you once you get in the street now. So stay on the sidewalk. I appreciate you. If you need to use the restroom, there's 2 restrooms at the top of the steps all the way behind that big box in the middle. You can use those restrooms. If you need an accessible gender neutral restroom as well, and both of those restrooms are gender neutral, might I add, you can go out this door to the left and go take the elevator or take the steps down to the 2nd floor. All right, everybody got it? All right, if you got it, say 50. 50. Thank you very much. Y'all here to have a good time? That's what's up. Appreciate you. Okay, now my other job is to welcome to the stage our MCs for today. No, it's not me. And nobody gave me a script, so I get to say, they told me I could say whatever I want because I know them. Really? Oh, y'all don't know what y'all just did. So the first gentleman that I would like to introduce is Mr. Steve Sneed. And y'all already know who Steve Sneed is. Well, let me tell you, and he's here. He's a legend. He's one of the reasons why we're all here. He helped build this foundation for us to be here for 50 years. And he still look like he's 20 years old.
No.
Our next MC for today is also a legend. Isiah Anderson Jr. Now, this young man didn't wash my car today because I didn't have on a skirt. I didn't know what to do. But the summer musical? What? I said, how many of y'all grew up with the summer musical?
Yeah.
How many of your careers started in the summer musical? How many of your careers started on this stage?
Yeah.
Thanks to Steve Sneed, Isiah Anderson Jr., and millions more. We out here to kick it, y'all. I'm handing it over because I'm talking too much. Steve Sneed and Isiah Anderson Jr., happy 50th! 50!
Yeah.
50! Boy, there's a lot of energy in the room.
A lot of energy. Can y'all give it up one more time for Miss Sharon Nari
Yes.
Williams? A boss in her own right.
Well, I'd just like to welcome you all here. Thank you for coming. Just a little bit about me, because it's not about me, but I performed here in 1974, and it was at the Black Community Festival. I was probably about 17 years old. I met my wife that year, Vita, there she is in the audience. But the thing that I remember most of all is that it was so crowded that people were sitting on the steps. And our group, our African drum and dance group, marched in on the steps. And we had to march over people to get in. I mean, it was packed and it was live. And that's the spirit that I remember of Langston Hughes. Now, I worked here for between 1989 and 2000. And there were many people who worked with me during that time. It was really a challenging time, but it was great fun. We did a lot of things. We put this thing up, and it makes me think of Mark Smith.
Mark Smith, yes.
Single-handedly, right?
Yes.
Yeah. He put that thing up, and I don't know, a lot of people may not realize, but Vivian Phillips helped it get approved. Because we felt we could get, instead of getting permission, we got forgiveness. So, but throughout the day, I think I'll ask you all, what other names do you remember during those times? Darcel Hubbard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, many others.
Umeme?
Umeme Pesa, yeah. Mm-hmm. Bobby Wooten, yes, yeah. Is in the house, Bobby Wooten, yeah. Living black ain't easy, right? Yeah. Right. Yes. So I'll stop now.
Well, no, I just want to say, first of all, how honored I am to be here in this space. I feel like a kid right now. I promise you, I do, because I was telling Steve and those guys earlier that a lot of people get to say, "Oh yeah, my mentor was, and he lived, or she lived, and my mentor lives right here." And I mean, I got to Seattle in November of 1984. I left Chicago. It was 12 below zero when I left Chicago. And I got to Seattle in 1984. A year and so later, I met Darcel Lorraine Hubbard
Yeah.
And she befriended me and started taking me everywhere she was going. And I was sharing that the first day I walked into Langston Hughes, I walked through the double doors downstairs. There was no elevator. It was just a door that opened, and I heard this. And I heard it from a distance. Had never heard it before in my life. And I was like, where's that coming from? What is that? But as I'm walking down the hall to hear where that's coming from, I look to the left in this big room, and there's kids dancing. And I said, my God. Then I see this white dude, Mark Smith, teaching martial arts. I said, what is this place? And as I get to the back, I look in this West room, and it's empty, but I keep hearing this beat coming out of there of some doop, 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 boop, 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 boop. I said, what is that? And I look in, and Sharice Saretse was sitting at that particular one and went to town. It felt like she waited for me to look in. Because at first, all I heard was boop, 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 boop. And I said, oh, that's cute. And I look in, and as soon as she saw me, she was like, and I said, what did I just step into? And it literally brought life to me. I had been entertaining, but I had never had a platform that was specifically for me until I walked into this space. And this many years later, I am truly honored, and I feel like that kid again, that 20-year-old kid that walked into this space and said, this is where I want to be.
Yeah.
And so I want to say thank you to everyone who played a role in that.
Yeah.
Everyone who played a role in that.
Yeah.
Everyone who played a role in that.
Yeah.
Because without you, I promise you, there is not this Isiah Anderson Jr. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great, Isiah. Yeah. Yeah, and it's so true. I mean, we stand on the shoulders of so many others that come before us. And otherwise, we're not here. We're inspired. I'm inspired by Black Arts West, Kabibi Monet. I'm inspired by Charles Canada, who some people may not remember. Ralph McCoy. I can name the names of people who inspired me and led me to do what I did. So at this time, I don't know how much time we have or what, but I think someone else is gonna, who's?
Boom, right there, right there. Right
Okay,
there.
all right.
I get to bring up.
That's right.
My job.
I see it.
We are going to bring some individuals to this. And just to give you guys a little bit of what's going to happen, we're going to introduce some individuals. They're going to come up and speak on behalf of their history and what Langston is and has meant to them. We'll have some honorees, some honoring being done. And then at some point, we're going to move downstairs where we're going to have some entertainment. We're going to have some stuff going on, but we're going to have some entertainment up here as well. So we just want you guys to sit back, relax. We purposely did not give you a program.
Oh, wait, we got to tell them that there's food outside.
Oh, yeah. There's vendors.
There's food outside.
And vendors downstairs.
Yeah.
So we want you guys to make sure you touch bases with them. But we purposely did not give you a program because we don't want you to be rushing us.
Again, you're listening
We
to
don't want you to
live
say that ain't
coverage
what the
of
program
the 50th
say.
anniversary celebration here at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute.
We don't need that from
Isiah
you
Anderson
today. We
Jr.,
don't need that
Steve
from you
Sneed
today.
at the podium. And
What we need
we'll
you to do is
continue
just
from the
sit
podium.
back and go with the flow. Is that all right? Can somebody say 50?
50.
Can somebody say 50?
50.
Okay, now I'm from Chicago. My whole family's from Mississippi. Can somebody say 50?
50.
All right. I'm saying 50. I am getting ready to bring up a lady who was a legend in her own right. The first time I had the chance to meet her, she brought her daughter to the Teen Summer Musical.
Oh, yes.
She brought her daughter and
I
put her in the
remember
Teen
that.
Summer
Yeah.
Musical.
Mhm.
And she made quite the impression on me. And then I got a chance to work with her, if you will, here at Langston Hughes. And she made quite the impression on me. And then I had the opportunity to not work with her. And she put quite the impression on me. As she has, I'm clear to most of you, but she's one of a kind. So
Yes,
please
indeed.
put your hands together for the acting director of the Office of Arts and Culture, the one and only Royal Ali Barnes, y'all. Put your hands together right now.
Impression on me. More importantly, they've made an impression on our children, on our community, and in our brains and in our hearts, where our generational wealth grows. May we hear it, the loving, loving sound of applause for Steve Sneed and Isiah Anderson. If I might, we acknowledge that we are on the indigenous land, the traditional territories of the Coast Salish people. This acknowledgement does not take the place of authentic relationships with indigenous communities, but serves as a first step in honoring the land we are on. And we as a people, as an African diaspora, we know about honoring the land and honoring our communities and our culture. That's why we're here today. Let's hear it. I think it was it Sharon Williams, CD Forum, Executive Director? What did she say? Did she say 50 more? Or did she say 50 more? And that's what we're trying to have here, and that's what we're doing right now. And so we're here today really in response to Black brilliance, our Black and brown diaspora. And you know, we all come and we celebrate like this, but we also have to remember that we want to thank Sandra Boyce Dupree, who's our facility manager, Lavelle Davis, the facility administrator, Dominique Thomas, all of this. He inherited the stuff that Mark started. And then Tim Lennon, who's the current and exciting executive director of Langston, Tim, and hosting us all today. And we all have our little placards and our signs and everything that tells us where we are because of an amazing, brilliant Black male artist. Yes, I'm calling it out, cisgender Black male artist, Damon Brown. Brilliant. So as you all know, it's the individual artists who are really the core of all of this, of the arts and the culture that we hold so dear. It's the core. But it is the community, and you're going to hear that word over and over and over. It's the community, the people who make it happen, who bring life as a collective group of humans seeking to gather, seeking social cohesion, seeking and making generational wealth. This is a wealth where we're sitting here today. Years ago, our community needed this place, a place to gather, to survive and thrive. As you've heard from both Isiah and from Steve, tough times. Those were tough times. It's hard today, it was hard then. So take a moment and imagine a number of people that you probably don't think about. Walter H. Hunley. Walter H. Hunley, I'm gonna say that name one more time, Walter H. Hunley, iconic, legendary, visionary. He, and a name I know you don't know, Jeffrey Tucker, community outreach specialist for Model Cities, said, this synagogue is a place that is being offered to us that we can gather. And they brokered that deal with our Jewish community allies and friends in a very difficult period of time and brought that into Model Cities. And then in turn, we saw Walter Hunley move from Model Cities to the city budget office. So it got money and funding. And we saw him moving to the Parks Department and they owned it and take care of it even to this day. And then we also saw him simply say,
over time, this is a cultural gathering space, and his legacy and heirs have used it and have totally embraced it and represent that generational wealth that we're talking about. So this facility has been brought into the public sector as Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute, and the fact that it's here today tells you that the millions and millions of hours, and you heard this from Sharon Williams as well, the millions of hours of Black community, family, and friends have invested here and are engaged here, youth to adult, and adults bringing more youth. And there are many names: Willie Campbell, J.T. Stewart, Francine Majors, Umeme So Beloved, Cherie Spark, you're going to see her here today, Lori Chiaradai, Kofi Annan, James Lally, Rico Bimmery, Steve Sneed, we just saw Steve, like your shirt, Steve, and Jackie Moscow, and performing and other luminaries from Gil Scott Heron to Charles Johnson, and believe it or not, Octavia Butler. So we are a community of artists. We are a community who engages, who holds in our heart our generational wealth in the arts. So we have come home again. In some cultures, there's a saying, you can't go home again. That is not true in the Black community. We have come home again and again and again to Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. So right here, we know gentrification is painful, but we are gathering yet again here today. So as a group that talked about this, I'm gonna quote them, can't rap like them, but I'm gonna quote them in proper English. Our Diggable Planet friends, right? Bringing back some memories, and here it goes. And it's good to be here, getting fly with the raps. We love it where we from, but we kick it where we at. It's good to be here. Let's hear it for all of those generationals of wealth. It is good to be here. So I would like to take this opportunity, and it's my privilege, to introduce to you someone who you have known, but you didn't know you knew her, because she was out there dancing in the streets, literally, before she was the chief of staff for Mayor Bruce Harrell's office. Yes, 1975, I was an adult in those days, and it was called Keep on Truckin'. Remember Keep on Truckin'? Let's hear it for Keep on Truckin'. And so it's my pleasure to introduce someone who was a central participant and maker of that group, that dance group, and who has not stopped trucking since, Chief of Staff for Mayor Bruce Harrell's office in Seattle, for our community, for our city, COS Jennifer Samuels. COS.
So again, we're live at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute.
Oh, my
and
secret's
Jennifer,
out. You're gonna get me in
Bruce Harrell's
trouble.
office, I
You're gonna
believe
get
you
me
have
in
a
trouble.
proclamation. So
Director
we'll turn it back
Royal
over to the
Alec
podium and
Barnes.
Jennifer Samuels.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, it is incredible to be here today, and it's about time. It's really about time to tell the truth. It's about time to create space and to celebrate the people who made history in this city. We made history in this city, we made history in this state, and I dare say, I think we made history nationally. And the reason why I say that, there is a legacy that's here at the Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. Langston has been and is the center, and has been so for 50 years, as we know, 50 years and more. We have been the center, we have been the hub, and it is a space of artistic Black brilliance in Seattle. You know, when I think about those days with Keep on Truckin', I tell you, when I walked in, I was kind of like Isiah when I walked into this space. I still wonder if I was dreaming. I don't know, Steve, Vita, Rico, I'm trying to remember this now. This was in 75, 76. My memory is pretty good, but help a sister. Was that Barry White and the Love Orchestra that we? Yes. Okay, I got that straight. Let me see. Was that the Ohio Players? Do you remember that? You don't? Okay. It was? Yeah, it was. That's what I thought. And then, let me see, it was somebody called Grover Washington. Those are the few of the acts that I remember, okay? But then I remember right here on this stage, some of the routines were just amazing. I have to give it to you. There were people that came all the way from Hollywood and sat up there watching every move, right? And then 3 weeks later, it'd be on national TV. I'm just saying something. That's why I say I think we were kind of national. We had a reputation here in Seattle. That was in 75, 76. Yeah. But I tell you, Langston has history. Langston is a legacy, and it is born from redlining when Jewish and our communities of color were segregated in our city. And you know what? It was a fight. We respect and we are in amazement at this beautiful Byzantine edifice, this Jewish synagogue, Shevra Becker Holam. This space, it first opened up its doors about 107 years ago. This is a blessing. The young people didn't come here to really think about the past necessarily, but let me tell you, to be successful and prosperous in anything, you have to remember your past as you go towards your future. So Director Allie Barnes shared about Walter Hunley. Let me tell you a little more about him. In 1971, Seattle Model Cities Director bought this edifice into the city family, and it opened up its doors in 1972 as a community center. And guess what? It hasn't closed its doors yet. Okay? I want to celebrate J.T. Stewart, who gave us the name Langston Hughes, and all of the evolutions of naming it. It took us to where we are today, the Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. Along that way, the stories have been vibrant and studded with luminaries like Gil Scott-Heron, Joe Brazil, and Nana Kabibi. Thank you. I'm acknowledging you, but your time is coming. So back in the day, the Washington State Council of Negro Women hosted the first Black Woman in Film Festival. And the Paul Robeson Theater was first developed and created here, and it continues today. I tell you, I was at the Teen Summer Musical. Man, the community came from everywhere to watch these young people. I was here one night and I had to go back and get my grandkids. I brought 4 of my grandsons and we watched it again, okay? It was fun. If you missed it, I don't know, what can they see it? Is there an opportunity for them to see it? I think you can see there may be a video coming out soon. There's a video coming out. You're editing the film now. Thank you. Thank you. It was phenomenal. So you want to watch that. So let's continue to keep our eyes and come together and learn from each other, reconcile the past with our present so we do not lose our momentum. So I know that the next 5, 10, 25 years will hold Langston as a public city center for gathering of communities from all across Seattle to celebrate the arts. We are safeguarding this gift, our future, and investing in the city's commitment to the arts. The mayor is committed to this. The beauty of this Black artistic journey is that it is here. It is in the public sector, and it is for the public to enjoy. The city is at the forefront, hand in hand with the Black community, its artists, and its nonprofits.
So that is Jennifer Samuels, the Chief of Staff for Mayor Bruce Harrell's office. And we're going to wrap up our coverage here on the Rainier Avenue Radio. But if you are out and about, stop by here at Langston Hughes Performing Arts Institute. Programming will be going on until 5 o'clock as they're celebrating 50 years here in the community. Well, again, for Daniel Bellis and for all of the folks here at Langston Hughes, I want to say thank you for joining us for this special coverage of this great event. And don't go anywhere, because at 5 o'clock tonight, you can see that Metro League 3A game, Eastside Catholic Ballard, right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. You can listen to it and see the stream on our platforms, YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook. Well, that's going to do it for us here at Langston Hughes. So until we are back on at 5 o'clock, enjoy the rest of the afternoon, and we'll see you then. I'm Rick Dupree.